Today we're going to talk about anxiety, and boy do I have things to say about anxiety. Hi there, my name is Mathilde, and if you're new here, I studied psychology and I'm a certified trainer in 2 different self-growth models, and my job is to help people to understand themselves better in order for them to build stronger relationships with themselves and with others. And today I want to talk about anxiety. What is my dog doing? At any point in our lives, we all have to deal with anxiety. Some more often than others, which is totally fine. I myself, I'm working on my anxiety. It's something that I talk about a lot with my friends and family, and I know that they can relate because we've all been there. I studied emotions, feelings and moods, and today I have some advice for anyone who needs some tips on how to better deal with anxiety. But before I give you my tips, what is anxiety and how does it manifest itself? Anxiety is defined as a feeling of unease, such as worry or fear, and it can include feelings of dread over anticipated events. It can be mild or severe. Anxiety is a mood, it's not an emotion. And as I was saying earlier, we all have to deal with anxiety at some point in our lives. However, it can be harder for some people to control their worries, and that's why some people might feel anxiety more often than others. Anxiety can cause trouble sleeping, having a sense of impending danger or panic, having heart palpitation, experiencing nausea or abdominal distress, trouble concentrating or making decisions, feeling irritable, tense or restless, and trembling or shaking. These symptoms can have a serious impact on your everyday life. When feeling anxious, for instance, you can find it harder to enjoy spending time with your friends and family, or you can lose motivation in your work, or you can even isolate yourself because all your brain is doing is focusing on what you're anxious about. So you're not enjoying the present, you're only focusing and thinking about what you're anxious about. So what can you do when you feel like you lost control over your anxiety? If you clicked on this video, it's because you saw that I have some tips for you. So here they are. First of all, identify your triggers. Triggers are the starting points of your feeling of anxiety. They are different depending on people. So what's important for you to be able to deal with your anxiety is, first of all, to identify what are your triggers. Is it an important event? Is it a conflict that you're having with someone? Is it political issues? Is it environmental issues? It can be really anything. I don't have the answer. You are the only one who can identify what is the thing or what are the things that are triggering your anxiety. Once you identified what is your trigger or what are your triggers, we're gonna make a list. I know that last time, if you watched my last video, we wrote things down and we're gonna do the same today. What can I say? I love lists. For this step, we are going to focus on what we can control and what we can't control. Sometimes we can feel anxious about things we don't have any control over. And sometimes we actually don't realize that we have control over some of the things that we're anxious about. So that's why we're making a list. So what's in your control? Your actions, your values and your goals, your boundaries, how you spend your free time, and your communication skills, for instance. What isn't on your control? The past, what others might think, feel or say, what others believe, how others behave, big political decisions, the weather, aging, loss, illness. The goal here is to see, depending on your trigger, if you have control over it or if you don't. For instance, if you're very anxious about the current political decisions, well, there is nothing you can do about it. So what can you do? Well, you can work on your anxiety, and that's our next step. But for instance, if you're very anxious about your next family dinner, there are some things that you can have control over. And it's very reassuring to think about the fact that you might not have control over what others are going to say or how others are going to behave, but you have control over what you are going to say and how you're going to behave, so you can take actions on what you actually have control over. So making these lists is a great way to accept what you can't have control over and to motivate yourself to take actions on the things you actually have control over. So when feeling the symptoms of anxiety, there are actually some things that you can do in the moment in order to calm your anxiety down. The first one is going to sound cliche, but I assure you cliches are cliches for a reason. Breathing exercises and meditation are very, very good with dealing with anxiety. I was saying in the symptoms earlier in this video that you can have heavy breathing or difficulty breathing, and focusing on your breathing and meditation are a very good way to get back to your normal breathing cycle, and I would highly recommend doing this. If you haven't tried it before and you don't know how to do it, there are some amazing accounts on Spotify or on YouTube. You can also find good meditation videos. It's guided meditation and it's really good. Sometimes they last 10 minutes, sometimes they last 20 minutes, and it's really depending on your needs. When feeling anxious, sometimes we are anxious about something that we think is going to happen in the future. So one of the best advice is to bring your thoughts and your body back into the present. So how can you do it? Well, I found that doing a puzzle or playing a board game is really useful to help your brain focus on something that is happening right here, right now. So when you're playing a game, for instance, you're focusing on one goal, which is winning the game or finishing the game. So there's not enough place anymore for your brain to focus on what you're anxious about, because it's actually focusing on playing the game and winning the game. Plus, if you're playing a board game with your friends and family, it's always a good time. I was talking about breathing exercises and meditation earlier, and we say that the body and the mind are connected. And when your mind is out of service, your body can take over. So go for a walk, breathe fresh air, and maybe go for a run if it's something that you like, and reconnect with your body and reconnect with nature. Again, sounds very cliche, but it's very important to go outside and focus on the little things. So go for a run, go for a walk with some good music. It always brings some positive energy, and it feels very good to be able to focus on the little things that are happening around us outside. Talking about taking care of your body, a good night of sleep. We don't talk about this enough. When we're tired, we tend to be more anxious and more irritable, so take care of your night routine. Another advice is to ask for help. Whether it's with a professional or with your family and friends, it feels very good to be able to talk about what we are anxious about with someone. So my advice is to seek for listening ears and advice. If you are not comfortable with the idea of talking about what you're anxious about with some other people, whether it's your friends and family or whether it's with a professional, another thing is to write it down. I really want to make a video about the benefits of journaling. I've been doing it for years and it really helped me. It feels really good to be able to write things down, and I find it easier to be honest with yourself when you know that the only person who's going to read these lines that you're writing is you. Also, if you've never done this before and you don't really know where to start or what to write, here are some prompt ideas. You can also find on Pinterest and Instagram some other prompts ideas for journaling if you need to. I know that it can be easier said than done, and I also know that when feeling severe anxiety, we often feel like we're lonely and that no one is understanding what we're going through. That's why I want you to know that this channel is a safe place. If you need or want to share what you're anxious about or your experiences in the comments, please feel free to do so. I will be answering every comment. Let's create a safe and welcoming environment in the comment section for anyone who needs to share about their experiences and who needs some positive thoughts and energy. You are not alone.